DTS is just a few days away, and what started as a summit last year has now shifted into a brand, a momentum, a geek playground that brings together the people, the tools, and the rhythm that makes innovation possible and turns potential into active reality. It's where science meets purpose. It's DTS. Welcome back to DeVoice, your podcast on entrepreneurship, venturing, and deep tech. We're kicking off this new season with the DeepTech Summit 2025. This year, we're back with a new hot topic that's redefining progress, artificial intelligence, and how it's transforming deep tech innovation. Our guest today is none other than the AI mom, Her Excellency Ambassador to the African Union, Lavina Ramkinson. She's one of the OGs of DTS, a key speaker from last year, turned chair of the DTS 2025 Strategic Committee. She's a top voice in AI and DeepTech and a firm believer in building a more intelligent tomorrow while pushing humanity forward. In this episode, we will talk about how AI is taking the world and industries by storm and what to expect from the second edition of the DeepTech Summit. So thank you for tuning in with us today, and let's dive in. Lamina, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for doing this, and thank you for sitting with us for a new episode of the DeVoice podcast from the DTS Summit. So welcome back to DTS 2025. As we kick off the second edition of the DeepTech Summit, Lavina, we're thrilled to have you here with us. You're one of the originals, you're one of the OGs. You've been with us last year, and this year you are the chair of our strategic committee of the DeepTech Summit 2025. So Lavina, before we start, let me just ask you, how does it feel to be back, and how does it feel to return to DTS?
Well, thanks for such an amazing start to the questioning. For me, I think being an OG definitely feels like we're coming for a sequel this time around. You know, it reminds me of movies. If you ever saw, sequels, I think this is one of those times. And this time we're hoping that the stakes are higher. We're hoping that the tech is way cooler. And we're hoping that the snacks are equally better. What inspired me to return? I think for me, the idea of geeking out over deep tech in Africa on the continent,
Sure.
There isn't a home ground. And I think with it being, held in Morocco as the first iteration last year, it's definitely becoming the geek playground in terms of what's happening on AI, on blockchain, quantum, space, health, robotics. So, for me, I think the thing that I learned from last year around DTS wasn't that it's not just a summit, it's also a vibe. It's a place where innovation meets inspiration. And, I think honestly speaking, I probably missed a lot of the, collective brain power that was in the room together. So here's to round two, being bigger and bolder. And maybe just a little bit more weird.
Yeah, sure. Here's to round two and to a geeky playground for deep tech. So, Lavina, everybody knows you as the AI mom. You're famously known as the AI mom. So you've always had a visionary deep tech understanding and AI understanding, something that most of us, probably common folks, have only grasped, let's say, in the last couple of years with the rise of Gen AI like DeepSeek and OpenAI. So tell us, what made you, or what was this understanding and this insights that you comprehended and that you got way beforehand?
So I think the title AI mom is something I wear with a lot of honor. Although I think my kid still thinks that, this means that mom is part robotic, which maybe in the future it'll happen.
Yeah, we'll get into that question later.
Yeah, but I mean, I think for me, years ago, AI was a thing that was unknown, or it was semi-known, and, it became the cool nerd in the tech parties, but it's more than just flashy algorithms for me. it always has been centered around amplifying humanity and how exactly we can do that. In addition to this, I think while everyone is worried about, what is robotics doing? Is it going to steal jobs? Are we actually making investments that are returning, tremendous amount of value, the rest of it? I think for me, it's really how do we ground ourselves in taking the time to create and innovate to solve for the biggest problems, knowing the fact that we're the ones in control of the narrative of how AI gets shaped into the future, right? We're creating it at this point in time. So, for me, it's just been about, being the ultimate equalizer, helping us really understand how can we become smarter, how can we possibly become kinder to each other, and how do we become more connected, right? As you rightfully said, and my gray hairs probably give away, the age and how long I've been part and parcel of the AI conundrum. But what us as humanity misses a lot is what is humanity's potential. So how can AI become a co-partner and not just a mere tool in terms of this narrative that we're creating for ourselves? So for me, it's really embedded around what is the magic of AI, what is that true end state of magic. And maybe perhaps you and I could eventually get our robot butlers that were promised many, many moons ago by, some of the future.
Awesome, thank you. So last year, Lavina, let me just circle back to the first edition of the DeepTech Summit. Last year, AI, artificial intelligence, was a piece of the puzzle, like one of the many tracks under the DeepTech, under the first edition. This year, it's taken the center stage. It's the main focus and the theme of this year. So what would you say, or just if you can share with us your thoughts on how fast AI has gone from last year to today?
Yeah, this is a tricky question because in a year, oh my word, how much has changed, how much has evolved, not just in AI, but, when we talk about geopolitics, when we talk about economics, when we talk about so many different aspects, right, of society. So, for me, DTS 2024 pretty much feels like, it was a snapshot of what AI was in a baby state. And now that baby is trying to walk and figure out itself without tipping over, right?
Definitely.
So pretty much where we're at. So fast forward into today's world, AI isn't just about walking, it's more about sprinting, doing backflips. It's, how do we train for the marathon? What's the end goal? So the deep tech universe as such always had AI as like a little side piece, right? And now it's almost the one that's taking center stage.
Exactly.
And, that's purely because we've gone from, seeing, Picasso-like images, being generated and code being written that developers themselves even say are better than theirs, right? And so we've gone from that iteration to, AI being a nice to have to now AI is something that we can't live without.
Here to stay.
And I think last year we were really debating about, can AI write a decent poem? Can it actually diagnose diseases? Can it optimize supply chains? Can it help us in the agricultural sector, and to what extent? But the one thing is we've translated all of that now into not can we trust AI, but it's how do we use AI and trust ourselves more, right? So it becomes that reflection mirror almost for ourselves. And now, these days we've seen AI do so much, right? From generating movies just with a few sentences to creating songs and albums and becoming a #1 hit author to doing a lot for us in this short space of time. And, definitely, I think AI is no longer just, that sidekick. It's probably the heartbeat, when it comes to deep tech itself.
Yeah. And it's when we hear you talk about all of this, like all this potential of AI, what it can do today, I assume for some of us, many of us, it can be scary. And when we think about the potential of AI and how it's taken over humanity and how it's taken over all fields, it can come across a little bit apocalyptic. We can imagine the Matrix or iRobots, like a future like that. It's very dramatic. But how can it really help us to move forward as humanity? How can it help us push and be better as human beings?
Yeah, so if I had to, give that question some thought, I think for us, if we sort of shape our perception around artificial intelligence, that definitely sets the narrative of how we then interpret it and how we adopt it. So if we had to look at it as it's a superpower of ours, so, we can be superhumans, but just without a cape. Instead of capes, we'll probably get algorithms, right? Now, imagine the world then becomes endless, right? And we're only then restricted by creativity, intuition, and a sense of moral compass. I think AI allows to bring in a lot of speed, a lot of precision, a lot of ability. And the two forces together, I think, are really, a key in terms of becoming unstoppable. You speak of things like, the sort of conundrums or the things that we semi are hesitant about when it comes to technology in general, or even in particular to artificial intelligence. And I think, that's just a natural sort of reaction state. But again, I go back to the point that we're creating this piece of technology. So, within our environment, we have full control of what we're creating, how we're creating it, and how we're actually implementing it. And, to that net effect, what is the impact to society? What is the impact to ourselves? What is the impact to our immediate families? These are the type of questions that we should be asking ourselves a lot more, whether you're software developer, or whether you're, someone that's sitting in finance, or whether you're someone that is sitting on a governmental level, or, a CEO of an entity. I think it's just so dynamic at this point in time. And that sort of balance between man and machine is so critical, right? We have our strengths and we have our weaknesses, and it's about how do we get the best of both to collaborate so that there is actual true, net effect, to everyone.
Now, let's talk about Africa. I think it's such a unique continent with a lot of potential, a lot of resources, homegrown solutions from us to the world. What can AI bring to Africa, to its progress, its development, and its sustainability?
You rightfully said it. I mean, Africa is set with potential, and having something like artificial intelligence over and above that just becomes not a game changer, but it becomes a continental changer. We know, traditionally speaking, Africa is a land of untapped potential, right? And AI is probably that key to unlocking what that potential is. When we have to talk about how and where it can, add impact, I think areas like agriculture becomes really key. And we've seen this where, it's helped farmers on ground. It's helped, community of farmers to, understand what the weather predictions are going to be like for the next 6 months to a year, to then understand what their harvesting sort of schedule would look like, right? As an example. We also know that, that sort of data would then help, insurance companies and the likes, in terms of understanding, what is the sort of impact of weather that is going to come into the farmers' lives, right? Another area I think is healthcare, and I think this is probably one of the key areas that we're going to see over the next, 2 to 5 years, really unlocking. And that's really taking, telemedicine, and allowing remote villages to have access
Access to
to
medical care.
healthcare, right? And we know that there's diagnostic tools that's available, for early prevention or for early detection. We also know that, healthcare in Africa is something that, needs to seriously or be taken seriously. We an example, an average health span or an average call out to for an ambulance in Africa, the reaction time is 7 hours. I mean, can you imagine? I mean,
Yeah.
That's an average time for the continent. Another scary factor on healthcare is, we probably have about 7 years ago, 2% of healthcare data captured across the continent. Nowadays, it's probably sitting at 5 to 7%, if that. So there's still a lot that we need to really understand about ourselves to be able to treat ourselves well, right? I think one of the other areas for me is education, and I'm sure you can, that's almost like a no-brainer, so I'll skip over that one. The last one for me is really around sustainability, right? Sustainability in terms of not only the renewable energy, but also how can we actually start putting in smart grids? How can we put in energy optimization? How can we go ahead and protect our ecosystems while nurturing them to actually then grow, right? So, how can we put, all of this on steroids? And I think that steroid is AI, right? Whether we're talking from, Nairobi to Cape Town, or whether we're talking about Cape Town to Morocco, I think the innovations and the solutions that we're starting to see are really tailored uniquely to the African continent. And, that's just, really reiterating the homegrown geniuses that is actually lying within the continent. And the more and more we kind of tell our own stories, the more and more we get connected with each other, I believe the more and more we would be able to sustainably unlock, this key called artificial intelligence to help us reach the next level.
Right. So, no, not at all. Because you hit the mark, because education, health, sustainability. So, Lavina, landing on our last question of this podcast, it only makes sense that artificial intelligence is the centerpiece and the main topic and theme of this edition. Redefining progress, how artificial intelligence is transforming deep tech. We've talked about education, we've talked about health, we've talked about sustainability. These are only few scopes where artificial intelligence can actually transform both humanity and our continent. Without giving too much, because we still want people to come to the DeepTech Summit, as chair of the DTS 2025 Strategic Committee, what can we expect from the second edition?
What can we expect? Let's see. I think just the usual mind-blowing innovations, probably some game-changing ideas. I think, again, there's a lot of brain power that usually attends DTS. The kind of areas I think that we're going to start seeing is what is the next level of AI? What is the next level of AI in leadership? With that, what are some of the homegrown, new initiatives that's happening on ground? I think in terms of code labs, that's definitely, we're going to see everything from startups all the way to global giants. And I'm sure this is a place where there'll be a lot of partnerships, as well as matchmaking that would happen. And then obviously we're going to see, the UM6P magic, right?
Yes.
That in itself, that's
live from
in the heart. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's always the perfect backdrop to any tech, revolution is having that tradition where innovation meets trust. I think, over and above that, we're going to start seeing areas like I guess, AI, blockchain, space tech, sustainability, youth. So these are some of the areas that would be of high focus. And, definitely going to see a wide range of audiences all the way from startups, investors, policymakers, governments, as well as, some of the tech giants themselves that would be present. And I think, what we're going to get is a different styling of content, but one that is high energy discussions together with really immersive, sort of workshops, and probably a few surprises in between.
Awesome. So we can wait for the second edition of the DeepTech Summit. We can wait to have you here with us at UM6P on 8th and 9th of May. I guess it's safe to say that it's going to be an AI geek playground for communities from all over the world who are going to be here together to share, to talk, and to explore the transformative effect of AI on us. Thank you so much, Lavina. Thank you for sitting with us for this podcast. And we hope to see you soon here at UM6P Vingrir on 8th and 9th of May.
Absolutely. Can't wait to be with the UM6P family again, and truly honored that they have had be part as a chair this year around. So yeah, super excited. I am hoping that I'm going to see a lot more of the audiences there as well. Can't wait to meet everyone in person.